In this video, we're going to talk about why I think we're at the edge of a huge property boom. I'm talking about something that will even make 2020 look small. All right, there's so many dynamics in the market that are happening right now, and everyone's focusing on inflation and what's happening in the news and talking about the fixed interest rate coming up for expiry and the mortgage cliff. And no one's actually talking about the dynamics in the market. So this video is going to be everything on that and why I think that we're on the edge of an untapped mine of growth that people just aren't focusing on at the moment and should be. All right, so let's go through a couple of points. Every market that I'm seeing right now in Queensland and WA is sitting at 1% or less vacancy rate. So what's a vacancy rate? Go online and search for a target suburb that you've been looking at. And if you have any idea of what that suburb looked like 5 years ago to now, you're probably looking at a third of the listings. Right now, I'm trying to source some property in Perth, and I've got a buyer's agent actively searching for me right now. And 2 to 3 betters minimum rent 400. One of the suburbs I'm targeting, there is 0 rentals right now. The other one, there's only 4. Okay, and that tells me that the vacancy rate is in under 0.5%. Okay, and I've talked to the property managers in the past, and this was an area that no one's really looking at 2 years ago. It was very common to have at least 10 to 15 listings in both suburbs that I'm targeting. Okay, so that's the key thing at the moment, vacancy rates. We're not seeing it in just, one suburb or one place. We're seeing it across the country. I'll give you a couple of examples. I listed a property right smack in between Brisbane and Gold Coast, and I listed it on a Tuesday. It's not even for kids or large families because it's a dual key with no fence. And it's not good for pets because it doesn't have a dividing fence line between them, and it's got a creek out the back, so not really good for young kids. I got 16 applications inside of 4 days, and everyone wanted to close it before that Saturday that I had the property manager showing the property. And I had an offer of 6 months upfront rent from someone that was earning over 300 grand a year, a developer that was doing projects in the Gold Coast and was getting squeezed on Airbnbs way too much. So he just wanted a company lease for himself and his employees, and they were only going to be in the property for like 3 to 4 months out of the 12-month year, and it still came in a hell of a lot cheaper than an Airbnb would. So that's what we're seeing at the moment. And all these people saying that you're going into these low socio-economic areas, you can't find good tenants, have no idea what they're doing. As long as you're putting the rent in an okay range and you're not pushing it too high, so you're reducing the amount of rental applications, you're getting your pick of the litter from 15 to 20 plus people applying. Okay, and not just that, you've got half of them calling the property manager 4 times, begging them for the listing and to get their family in. So that's what we're seeing across the country. And the reason why I'm focusing on WA and Queensland is if you're buying under trust, you get one separate trust land tax threshold, okay, which is why a lot of people buy their income properties in WA and Queensland, okay, because you buy one property per trust, you get an extra land tax threshold per trust. All right, so that's the first one. Second one, let's talk about this, home building costs. Okay, so in the past, everyone used to be scared of vacant land and potential subdivisions and potential releases of large amounts of land, right? Right, and I'll give you an example. Let's just use Rockhampton as an example. Everyone hates Gracemere, which is on the left side of the map, right? And everyone used to say that look at the amount of land. And I'll give you another example. My first buy, Woodbury. So at the back of Woodbury, you got Maitland, and there's just thousands and thousands of acres of land that they can release, or they can buy large farms and subdivide. They think that that's a threat to their prices, when in reality, the build costs have gone up over 30%. And not just that, the timing of getting builds done is out. So you've got developers going under. So let's write out a couple of things. You've got developers and builders going under. You have worker shortages. Okay, you have builders and tradies not being paid. You have banks not funding large scale commercial and development, banks not funding large scale buildings of unit blocks or things like that, right? So you've got all these developers that have these large blocks right now that they are not starting the 3 to 5 year process to release that out to market. The rates are too high, so they're sitting on these large blocks, and it's better that way. They're waiting for the rates to come back down, and then they renegotiate their funding for the building. So that's what's happening right now. So if you're buying, and I'll give you an example of 250k to 400k properties, when you know you can't even build those three bedders right now, even to an okay standard, for 300 or 350 grand, and you're buying a place that's existing, which is already at that price level with the land pretty much for free, you're under rebuild cost, right? So under rebuild cost. Okay, so this example is one of the biggest reasons why I'm seeing what I'm seeing. Okay, if you continue to go around the country and buying under rebuild cost, all right, and you do that for the next at least 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 years until the developers can start releasing enough stock, which I think is going to be not 5 years, it's going to be closer to 10 years. All right, that's how you make money. Okay, you make money by getting under price floors. Okay, a price floor is, even if you look past that suburb from 10 to 15 years ago, it never went under a certain amount. So I'll give you an example. I'm looking at a house in WA right now, and it's sold for 287 in 2007. Okay, I'm trying to buy that property right now for 305. I'm negotiating with it right now with my buyer's agent. All right, that's telling you, and not just that, I've got another one that the agent's being a little bit funny, that I'm trying to negotiate at 285. So, but the agent's not signing the contract, so I'm moving on. All right, and in that same example, that one resold in like 2006, and it sold for the high 200s. So you're actually buying it for less than what, 16 years ago. All right, so if you can't make money at these kind of price levels, and we're not even talking about the next one, let's talk about this, rent going up. Okay, so in this same example, the three better that I want to buy, let's say I get it at 305 or under if we negotiate well, it's going to rent the main house for somewhere between 420 to 440. Okay, the back, the granny flat that I'm going to put on, 2-bedder granny flat, it's going to rent for 380 to 400. So I'm sitting at somewhere between 800 to say 840 in rent. Okay, and if I'm looking at the total cost, let's say it's 305 with a 200 grand granny flat, that's just over 500 and say 505, somewhere around there. And then I do a 20% deposit, so my debt is sitting at around 400. But then the rental yield that I'm sitting on, yield on debt, is sitting at 11.5%. Do you think I can't make money in that kind of market? All right, everything's low socio. Like, you're talking about Armidale, you're talking about Rockingham, you're talking about Mandurah, you're talking about Geraldton, Bunbury, you're talking about even 15 k's from Perth. You're talking about Balga, Malaga, all those kind of areas. And in the south, you're talking about Maddington or Thornley or anything like that. You don't think they're all low socio? Not one is rougher than the other. They're all rough. Okay, and people don't want to buy on those kind of areas. But so if you're buying so much under the ability to rebuild that, and you're getting most markets in in Brisbane and northeast Queensland, you're sitting at the lowest 8.5% gross yield on debt. But in northeast Queensland, you can get it up to like 11 or 12%, and you can do that in the Perth market as well. And if you're doing that right, even if you've got all these guys that talk about, oh yeah, but half of it you're on the top tax bracket and this and that and the other. But if you're under trust, you're on a lower tax bracket than 49%. So there's that. And then they say it's never gonna grow when the ability of that 300 grand property to go to 400 is so much easier than a $1 million property doubling in Sydney or Bondi Junction or anything like that. And I'd rather 10, 15 or 20 of these kind of ones than I would of, say, 3 units in Bondi Beach, Coogee, anywhere around there, sucking out, 20, 25 grand from my pocket every year and then having to recoup half of it back with negative gearing. Okay, that's not how I like doing it. So I like building a base level of property with high income, good yields, 2 to a block, 2 to a trust, and you're in a situation where the whole market is in your favor. Why is everyone not looking at this? Okay, everyone is. So where is the focus right now? The focus is interest rates. The focus is lack of borrowing power, banks. The focus is what? The fixed interest rate cliff. Okay? The focus is when is the rate cut, right? But right now we've got this glory period where we're sitting at maybe 6 to 9 months to the next rate cut, where CBA's come out and said that they think we might get 4 rate cuts next year, 2 in 2025. But let's be completely honest, we don't know what's going to happen. What happens if a huge stock market collapse happens at the end of this year, and the Fed and everything has to save the market? We could see 3% of rate cuts within 6 months with quantitative easing. We could be back at 2% interest rates. We're on a very fine line in this market, all right? And not just that, you've got to understand how Australia works. As long as you're staying away from the mining areas, you're in a position where 90% of the people want to live on 10% of the land. It's not the same thing as the American market. It's so much different. So as long as you're staying on a coastal market and a large regional, so it's not fully dictated by mining, you're doing so much better. Okay, so this is some of the stuff that we need to be talking about. This is some of the stuff that should be spurring investors on. And if you want that support from me as a mortgage broker, setting up these kind of structures for you, getting a situation together with the right property strategy, the right accountant where you're able to borrow unlimited under the right circumstances, okay, book an appointment with me below and we'll sit and have a chat, because this is the stuff that is the low stress way, okay, to build a portfolio out that is cash flowing well and allows you to sleep well while making money. Okay, this is my opinion, all right, and hope you've enjoyed the content. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe, and leave a comment below. The market's changed, you've got to change with it, and right now I'm seeing no one, like hardly anyone, is doing these kind of strategies right now, which tells me that there's so much juice in the tank that we could be doing this for the next 1, 2 or 3 years before some of these big buyers agents start jumping on it. And everyone's looking for 422s with depreciation right now. Okay, that's what people are looking for. Let's try and get a brick home, 422 with depreciation, trying to get it under 450 grand. We're seeing so much of it. When if you open your eyes and you target the right markets with these kind of strategies, you're not only getting the growth component, you're getting the cash flow component, you're getting the accountant control aspect, and you're on the right side of the lenders to allow you to roll on to the next deal. All right, hope that this content is that you're enjoying it, and we'll see you on the next video. Make sure you book an appointment below with the bottom link if you want to speak to me about these kind of strategies. All right, take care. Bye.